G'day mate, and how the bloody hell are ya? Welcome to In the Back of My Head podcast, episode 59. It's a weekly little creative journal, podcast, vlog, pick a term, just discussing creativity, sometimes politics, whatever the fuck's in my head. Chance to get some thoughts out of my brain into this format, try and make some sense of it, and maybe you'll get a little something out of it as well. Let's just bloody jump in. This week has been truly fucked so far. Last couple of weeks have been fucked so far. All of my own doing, but a lot happening all at the same time. A lot of projects finishing up at the same time or kicking off at the same time, and it's just hours of work needing to be done. Again, self-determined schedule, but you know. It's an emotional guilt to just kick back and like, oh, yeah, you're going a bit hard, you should chill out. It's like, I've set these deadlines now. And so I had a topic in mind, which I'm going to save for another day when I have some more thoughts about it, or more time to think, more time to write on it. And instead today, considering that the couple of weeks are busy because of quote-unquote collaborative projects. I say quote unquote because really it's me doing a lot of stuff that outwardly looks collaborative. Because a lot of things that I do go through Vibe Union, the creative collective that I run. And by creative collective, there's only a few of us. As is the nature of creative collectives, as is the nature of any collaborative project, is that it ebbs and flows in terms of people involved. When we first started, it was like 21, maybe more people. And then by the end of it, only a couple. Not by the end. At this point, only a couple. Considering we started in COVID, that makes a lot of sense. People had the fucking time. And now not so much. And maybe now not the interest. Because I guess at a certain point, people take control of a collaborative process. Like there's usually a head of it. There's usually perhaps the most dedicated, but it could also just be that a particular energy from one person kind of takes over in the end, which is something that should be kept in check, especially in oneself. So I've played in bands a lot throughout my life. However, primarily with the same people. Me and my drummer, me and my oldest mate, who is a drummer. First and foremost my mate, second drummer. We've played together in most of the projects that we've been in. But when we first started, we were teenagers. And when we first kind of got a bit more serious about it, no, I think we were still 18, 19, living in the country. When we had the time, we had a lot of fucking time on our hands. Paying sweet fuck all rent. I was probably paying $100 a week for rent. And living in the center of town. Didn't need to go anywhere. Didn't need to do anything. Maybe working 1 to 2 days a week. As is the dream for a creative at that time, in that time in your life. House was a bit dearer. We converted so we lived the three of us. There was 3 of us in that house. It fluctuated, but at the time I'm talking about, we lived as 3. And we converted the 3rd bedroom, which was my mate's bedroom still, into the band room. So he lived in the band room. There was drum kits and guitar amps and what have you, recording equipment, and then his mattress rolled up in the corner. He loved it. He loved it because I think he felt like he was a part of something. He enjoyed the romantic side of it. And that's kind of what I want to talk about. Because our ritual was, every Tuesday, there was a pizza special down at Big Jim's Pizza. And so we would start our day off. We would start rehearsing in the middle of the afternoon. maybe like 2 or 3 o'clock. And rehearsing is a loose term. We had some songs, but it was mainly just jamming. We were just jamming. And we would do that for a few hours, and then we'd say, okay, now's the time. And we would go down to Big Jim's Pizza, and we would pick up a large pizza each, and a garlic bread each, and a bottle of red wine each. And then we would return, eat those pizzas, and then continue jamming with just drinking straight from the bottle of red wine each, and just get fucking munted every goddamn Tuesday. And then one bottle of wine would usually turn into, well, we've come this far, eh? Come this far, fellas. And so we'd go further than that. We would raid our liquor cabinet, or we'd head back down and pick up a slab of beer, or what have you. We would get onto it. And maybe we would jam into the wee hours of the morning. That's not true, we didn't do that. But we would jam into the later hours of the evening, drunk off our faces. And it was a very fun time. It was a very romantic time. But there was a moment when we were working on, so me and my drummer mate, we were working on our own projects. We had our own side projects. I think I had just started working under the name as Wrath. Working is a strong term. I had started making my own music under the name as Wrath. And my mate, the drummer, was also working on his own project. And we got into a discussion with the third member who lived in the band room, who enjoyed the romantic side of things. And he said, I don't really like the fact that you guys have other projects, because this is our project. This is the thing. This is the thing that we're doing. And at the time, we were watching lots of like documentaries on famous musicians. There was the documentary about the Dandy Warhols and the Brian Jonestown massacre. Fucking great documentary, well worth a watch. And that kind of, in a sense, romanticized the being on the road with two bands, and like just living that rock and roll lifestyle. But that rock and roll lifestyle also involved a bunch of fucking heroin and shit. And so, in retrospect, to idolize, to romanticize that lifestyle of in this case, sleeping in the corner of a band room, writing music with your mates, and getting sloshed every fucking Tuesday. Not every Tuesday. I mean, every day, basically. Tuesday was a ritual, but every other day was just free-for-all. It's a romantic idea, but in the end, it is extremely destructive and completely fabricated reality. We wrote some cool songs, but I think in retrospect, the energy was never there. It was never there to actually turn this into a working band. But as someone who is very dramatic and romantic myself, I totally understand the idea of being in the band, having your band. You and your mates have formed a band, and now you're going to write some music, and you're going to release an amazing album, and you're going to tour the world together as the band. It's a lovely idea. One that is portrayed in books and TV and movies and what have you, and songs that we listen to. It is the dream, but is it the dream? It's very unrealistic, I think, is the main thing. There are very few bands who have continued on writing amazing music and working together as one for a long time. One band that comes to mind is Dr. Dog. I love Dr. Dog. That's a great band. That is a great band that started, I think in the 90s. They've been going for over 20 years, and they have released so many great, amazing albums and continue to tour, and the band members haven't changed a lot. There's one of the few acts that I can think of that has done that, and there are others. Obviously, there are others. The Foo Fighters is a good example. And I think those bands, from what I've seen, the Foo Fighters I use as an example quite regularly, even though I don't care for the Foo Fighters music in the slightest. But as a band, they seem to enjoy the work. They enjoy being on the road. They take care of their bodies. They treat it as a job. It is a job. To be the band that you're in for a long, long time, I think is less romantic when you actually get into it. And if you treat it as this romantic thing, it's like being in a relationship. It's so much like being in a relationship. Being in bands, collaborating with other artists is very similar to being in a relationship. And if you romanticize a relationship to the point where you are devoid of reality, where you're disconnected from reality, and especially when you put your partner and the relationship itself on a pedestal, then there is no hope for it to last. Because then it can't actually possibly weather the turmoil that life throws at it. And same with the band. It's a beautiful romantic thing that, we get together and we write these songs and they just come out beautifully, but at the end of the day, you have to figure out song credits, and you have to throw out songs, and you have to deal with life happening and get on with the job, get on with the work. How are we going to pay for all this? How are we going to record all this? What are we doing? It's like, we'll figure it out. Being a band is a slog. You have to work out just a lot of personal relationships. It's a lot like a relationship because it is a personal relationship. Like living with housemates. Who's going to do the chores? Oh, it's all well and good when we all cook together and hang out in the living room and have a good old yarn. That's great. But when we're fucking hungover on a Sunday and someone has to take the fucking bins out, that's the work. That's the reality. That's the side of it that we don't want to talk about, but that's the side that we have to deal with. That is the relationship side. And that comes up in bands, especially. If you romanticize it, put it on a pedestal, it will crumble. That pedestal will fall, topple, and crush you. To counter this, I really enjoy having multiple projects. To hear that he didn't like it, to hear that he wanted us to focus entirely on one project really irked me, because a project sounds like a certain project. There are bands that can go in all different directions, there are creative projects that can go in all different directions, but realistically, when you are coming together, you are smashing your creative interests and styles together. And it will have a certain timbre, certain sound. And there are things that, especially for someone like myself, for someone like me, I am scattered. Hence this podcast, hence all the creative projects I do. I cannot sit still, I cannot stand in one place ever for more than a couple of seconds. And so I would love to play in like just a chill country band. That'd be fun. Play some bass in a country band, that'd be cool. Could I just do that? I would lose my mind. I would get so bored. I'm like a magpie, I need shiny things. And so to have this one thing, this is the thing that you're doing, it doesn't work with my brain. I would get bored, I would get frustrated. I would look to other things that I want to do. And there would be greener pastures syndrome constantly. I would be looking at what I'm doing and going, oh, but that thing, I want to do that thing so badly. And so having another project where it is where you get to express all these other things, all these other ideas, then takes the edge off the main project. Well, not the main project, the other project. I always wanted to rap. I remember I think I was about 17, 16 or something like that, and we were going to do a cover of a Rage Against the Machine song, and we said, oh, who's going to do the rapping? And I said, I would love to do that. And they're like, shut the fuck up, man, you ain't doing that, you ain't rapping. And now in the other bands that I play in, rap would be totally inappropriate. But that's why I have my side project, that's why I have my rap project, that's why I have my deep house project, that's why I have my folk music, which I've never released, but one day will release. I need to actually write that shit. I've got stuff written, I need to record it. Having these other projects means you take the edge off of that one thing. And then I think what that allows you to do is to play your role. So I think about this with the relationship idea. When you romanticize a relationship, when you romanticize a partner, when you romanticize, this situation that you're in as the be-all, end-all. You see it all the time in more kind of conservative ideas of what a relationship looks like. Oh, I'm going to get myself a wife, and then suddenly life will make sense. This is going to be my best friend. This is going to be my everything, which I strongly lean towards in relationships, that I find my best friend in my relationship. And I am currently with my best friend in a beautiful relationship. But to place it in your mind is like, this is literally my entire life, this person, this relationship is literally everything in my entire life, is a recipe for disaster, because a person cannot fulfill all of those needs on every single day, because a person has off days, because your brain goes in different directions, because you need this thing, that thing, blah, 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 you know? And same with a band. I think if you go into it in this romantic sense, oh, this is where I get to be creative. But you have other creative things and desires that you want to do, and if they can't be expressed through the band, you will start to resent that band. The relationship tie-in was off the cuff. This was not the intent, but I think it's a good tie-in. But the more I go on, it sounds more and more like, I secretly have an agenda here that I'm actually talking about just relationships. It's not the case. I'm talking about bands. And so, yeah, I find let's continue to use the relationship analogy. Fucking hell, it's a good one. I've not been in a relationship where it's like really designated roles. An example of, let's say you were looking to be, I just want to be dominated. I just want to be a pet. I'm looking for a relationship where I'm just a pet. I have a very particular role that I want to play in this particular relationship, and the other person plays their role. Because the parameters are really well defined, then it can be quite easy, from what I've seen, to play that role because you have no questions. You know exactly what is supposed to be happening. Again, if it's supposed to be your everything, then you are even more confined. But if this is just the role that you play in this particular scenario, then fantastic. You have a beautiful, lovingly laid out script for you to follow. And an example of bands, if you're going in and, we're all perfectly equal. We are all perfectly equal as songwriters and creatives. Everyone is creatively, their creative opinion is equal in this space, which should be the case in terms of like hearing people out. However, there is a recipe for disaster there, where if there is not a predefined script and a predefined role, it can be very, very messy. It can get very, very messy when people all have the same opinion on the same thing, and none of it's working. And especially if you don't have the communication skills to pull it off. And what I really enjoy is going into my current band, where I play bass. I played bass in that one as well back in the day, but it felt more like a truly, we are all equal in this creative process. In this one, there is a lot of room for creative input. We are all of our voices are heard, but it comes from a place of, still, I'm here to play bass. I'm here to write bass lines. I'm here to add this foundational element to the songs. However, the songs already exist. I'm not bringing material, I'm not bringing songs, I'm not bringing lyrics, I'm not bringing ideas so much. I am plugging into a pre-existing idea. And I find within that role a great freedom of expression because it's so clear what my job is. I'm not questioning my role, I'm not questioning my job. And I think it's that idea that limitations breed creativity. We all hate the blank page. The blank page is the most terrifying thing. We all hate the blank page. The blank page is the most terrifying thing. Because I think the biggest part of creativity is problem solving. At least for me, one of the most enjoyable parts of it is problem solving, I would say. And so to give a riddle, a problem, give an issue that needs to be solved, and it's not an issue. To give a problem that needs to be solved, and in this particular case is, here is a song that does not currently have a bass line. We just need a bass line. And then you listen to it and you go, okay, cool. I have so many parameters already set. We have the time signature, we have the key, we have the vibe, we have the feel, we have the length of the song, we have the parts laid out. All I need to do is add this one little element, and my brain goes, okay. This is a very clear problem, I see a clear outcome, and here I go, and I write a bass line. It is so satisfying. It gets your brain going, it tricks it into being hyper productive. And then everyone else in the band has their role to play. I'm going to lay down some guitar, and I'm going to lay down some drums. Brilliant. Perhaps a little bit harder for the main singer-songwriter to write the song and write the lyrics and then bring this thing, because they started with the blank page. In a sense, they have the hardest job. But then it also makes sense that if they start with a blank page, then they would also usually come forth with kind of the clear direction that we're all heading in together. And I think that's just how collaboration works. That's how collaboration works most of the time. Is that there is a leader. There is someone who kicked this whole thing off, that was the spark of this creative idea, and it can fluctuate, it can change, just as the dynamics in relationships can change. But to have a leader, to have a creative force at the center of it is, I think, is the best way to ensure actual outcomes and actual success. Just as there are so many relationship dynamics, be it romantic relationships, friendships, or living with housemates, yada yada yada, so too are there many dynamics in bands. I'm not saying that it is impossible for a group of songwriters all equally to come together and do the thing. However, I do believe that if you go into that romanticizing it and placing it on a pedestal of this impossible, beautiful thing that you saw in a documentary, or a movie, or a dramatized movie, then I think you are looking at a false reality. You are not seeing the actual nitty-gritty, the communication skills that you need to pull that off. I think it's very rare. I think it's very, very rare to happen. Alright, there we go. There's a ramble. There's a ramble and a rave. I just wanted to get some thoughts down on collaboration today. I had another topic and I'm going to do that next time, but anyway. I need to remember that these podcasts are just for me. But I want to up their quality a lot. I want some weeks to be like a fully written script of something that I really want to talk about in quite a bit more depth. But now I recognize that that's unrealistic on weeks when I'm really, really busy. And so there will be some of them like this where it is just off the top, a ramble. Write 5 dot points and fucking let rip. So if I've said some shit that you're like, I think that's wrong, mate, well then please hop in the comment section or DM me on Instagram and fucking tell me why I'm wrong about how collaboration works. Tell me your success stories of romanticized collaboration, but better yet, tell me your failures. Tell me every time you've gone wrong. Tell me every time it's fallen apart. And tell me why. Self-analyze. Think about it. Actually go into it and go I think I know where this all fell apart. I know I know which Jenga block I pulled where it all came crashing down. And send that to me. And I might talk about it on a future episode. Okay, look. That's in the back of my head podcast episode of 59. I love you that was a shit click. There we go. I love you very much. Be well. Hey, if you enjoyed this podcast, you can support me on Patreon if you like. Just, buy me a bloody coffee, buy me a bloody beer, and you sort me out for life, mate. Keep making these things. If you pay $10, you get a book. Or $5, you get a book. It all says it on there. Hey, I'll see you next time on this podcast that I record. Okay, bye.